Welcome to the Instinctive Influencers podcast, a show where influence becomes one of your tools for success. Now, here are your hosts, Brian Weber and Ed Haley.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And I am James.
James, how are you, my friend?
I am good on this fabulous Sunday. I'll be better if a certain football team loses tonight.
Please say Dallas.
I mean, I'm not going to say. I don't want to chase away any of our audience.
I get that. So you've got a different setting there. You want to tell everybody, because you have not recorded with us since you've been there. So what's with this new setting, man? Like, there's a whole new look here. What's going on?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because I'm in a whole new house because I have once again moved. I'm back in the States now, and I'm back at good old Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
That's an amazing place. They call this place the great place. I like to call that the amazing place. That's nothing against this place either, but it's just, you spend as much time as I have there, you kind of fall in love with it. But
yeah, this will now be the place I've spent the most time at.
Yeah, definitely. Is that Alexa talking to you?
Yes, it's my ring, my doorbell, because my wife has just come home with groceries, and every time she walks in front of it, it's going to go off.
It's going to let us know that she's coming in and out. That's awesome. I didn't put mine up yet. So you're back in the States now. You've been all over the place. What's really cool is you took on a new job.
Yes.
Which is my old job.
Yes. This is the same place that we worked at before. Yes.
Where this show began.
Yes. I have been into some of the places that we recorded very early episodes at. Like the famous Jeff Watts episode way back.
Before we started actually doing video, and it's just us sitting there around microphones and taking pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how does it feel to kind of be in that organization again?
It's different. It's weird because 4 years makes a big difference to the organization. It's way different. They've had a lot of leadership turnover since we've been gone. Right. And then to be in the position I'm in now. So now I've got to what needs to be fixed? What's going really well? I got to start doing those AARs and figure out what's my stamp going to be on the organization. So it's kind of interesting now. And then I see I really hate to do this. I see why you felt like you worked so much now. I thought you never did anything, but
did you really?
But the reality is, I understand now that you do quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, and the worst part was I used until we moved up there at Campbell. Also, remember, I used to drive an hour one way, so I would drive an hour to work all day. And then drive an hour home, and we wouldn't get out there we wouldn't leave at 5.
No,
maybe 6 if I was lucky.
I might have.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey man, I'm excited. I'm excited for you to be there because it's like you and I have had multiple discussions over the phone and everything since then. I was just trying to let the audience know, hey, where this guy is, what he's doing. We've missed him. But what I think is, I brought it up in the last week's episode about what we're doing the show on, and really it's about personality types. And I'm like, this is perfect for us to dive into. You have an abundance of instructors who are a multitude of personality types, and you already know that when they go through the instructor course with Rick, the bearded ninja, they have to take the personality test, the Myers-Briggs personality test.
Yeah. And I never understood why originally when we first got there. But I get it now. I definitely get it.
Yeah,
and it is useful.
So. It is, especially when it comes down to putting specific people in specific roles. I mean, some people it doesn't fit, and some people it works perfectly.
Yeah, I think we'll see some of that as we move through the episode today, because there's certain things that we do. To me, one of the most important events there is graduation. And I can use understanding of personality to understand who's going to give me a graduation, who's going to plan a graduation that is going to be stellar, and who would be kind of like, yeah, check the block. Like, so because you don't want, like for me, I don't want to check the block person and control a graduation or some of the other key events. So it's useful in something like that for sure. And also self-awareness, man. We've done emotional intelligence. Taking that test, there's things on that test that I was like, wow, that is me. Or maybe, and I think if you take this test more than one time, you're going to find that it might be different. But I also, talking to other people who are familiar with it, you generally will be like maybe 2 to 3 of the personalities you'll fluctuate between, but you probably won't go like 5 different ways unless you intentionally answer the questions for that. But if you do honest self, reflection and answer the questions, I think you'll sit in like a 2 or 3 different type zone. And then like, mine is different at home than it is at work. Yeah. So,
Well, and when I took it, because I just took it again yesterday, and I've taken it multiple times, and always comes out to the same thing. However, when I'm answering some of the questions, I had to think to myself, am I going to answer this is broadly how I feel or at the moment? You know what I mean? Like, because I am having, I'm a little bit more feely, touchy type, in touch with my feelings, or am I being more analytical normally? It's so, and there's so many ways, like judging versus, judging versus prospecting, those things. And we're going to get into those.
Yes.
But it's the idea of when you're taking it, it's like, you got to think to yourself and remind yourself, hey, what is your average? What do you normally do? Not how you are right specifically now. Now, you could do it as how you feel right now, but then again, is it going to portray who you are overall? Maybe not. It's just because you do range. I think you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So really what we wanted to do, so audience, what you're going to understand from the whole show is James and I, see, I'm never going to break that habit.
I'm going to put it on the board next time.
We do tally marks like we used to do when people would say and we do evaluations.
Ooh, that's a good idea. I'll write that down.
There you go. So James and I, we both took the assessment. We did it recently to try to make sure we had an accurate thing. Actually, I printed mine out because I thought, well, I just wanted to kind of go through it. But we both took it, and really the idea of the show is first you have to know who you are. Then you should try to know who your subordinates are, your peers, your senior, if you know the people around you, like my wife, she took it. And then she did some research of the differences between her and I was going to bring that up in a little bit too, because I thought it was kind of funny. But the idea is to kind of understand it and to know it. So that way, when you are making decisions, like James was saying about, putting people in positions and whatnot, you're putting the right person in the right position. So, hey, James.
Yes.
Right off the bat, man, what was you... Batman.
Where's my Batman?
What was your personality type, your overall personality type?
So mine was the logistician, and my little 5-letter... that thing. My 5-letter personality was the ISTJT. And we can get into kind of what each one of those means. But so I was a logistician, which is funny because I am a logistician by trade in the military. I haven't done it I've done it, but not as much. So How about you, Brian? What did you what did you come up with?
I was it was commander is what it said. ENTJ/A. So kind of like from what I understand, because, and I'm gonna show this book real quick to the audience, and I'll probably put a picture up between you and I so they can see a little bit better. But it's called Type Talk at Work: How the 16 Personality Types Determine Your Success on the Job. Excuse me. And in this book, it kind of goes even more in depth, and you can see I put some tabs in there because I got some stuff I wanted to share out of it between you and I. But one of the key things that I felt was really, really crazy about in this book, that's going to kind of help us to go along with this is in the very beginning, one of the very first things it talks about the importance of people, when you do this whole personality type watch in a sense. And it says the positive people-oriented nature of type watching makes it an essential appropriate technique for the workplace and beyond. An environment in which human capital, otherwise known as people, is being increasingly recognized as one of the key ingredients of organizational success. Harnessing the power of that human capital investment means relying more than ever before on relationships with customers, suppliers, employees, and oneself. These relationships are the building blocks of today's successful companies. So really, it gets into it basically is if you understand how to read or evaluate the type talks, or like the different personalities or what they're strong in, which we'll go through each category to kind of help the audience understand. If you can understand that, then you know what project to put them on. Are they an extroverted person or introverted person? Are they better at sales and getting out and knowing somebody, or are they more like a plug and chug at a spreadsheet and by themselves knocking it out? So you brought up James, that there was a code. It was 5 letters total. The very first letter that you had was,
I had I, which is, so the first letter represents the mind. I had I, which is introvert. It's introverted perspective.
Okay.
And that's what we were talking about. Like, so for me, yes and no, because I can be a social butterfly at times. In my current job, I am a big proponent of walk around leadership, right? In the military.
Yes.
But then when I get home, I am much more introverted. So again, it's just, I don't remember like the exact questions. It's just how you answer those questions. I had somebody tell me at the new job, man, you're always like wandering in the hallways and walking in the classrooms. I said, yeah, that's what I do. It's my thing. Like literally every morning I walk around for about 20 minutes observing training. It's right. So I would say that I would argue that's more of an extroverted, but when I get home, I mean, you can pretty much lock the door as soon as I come in it, because I'm probably not going back out my door. So,
but it's so in a sense though, you have to feel comfortable too, right? If let's back it up years ago before you joined the service, because I would almost say that the service has kind of changed you in that mindset where you said, oh, I can be extroverted here and introverted here. Were you more of an introverted person all the time back, when you were much younger?
Oh, no.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
No, I was so it's funny. I was more outgoing, but I was very shy. I had a lot of problems, like not problems, but challenges in school to find like who you were going to date at the time, because I didn't like to talk to, I got shy. I didn't want to talk to people. Now, if I knew you, then it would be different. But like for me in developing like relationships and having a girlfriend or whatever in high school, they had to be my friend first, and I had that comfort level. Like I couldn't just go up to somebody and just start talking to them. That was absolutely not going to happen. I don't talk in class for the first about month of school. I was kind of introverted in that way, but I also was never in the house. Like I'd be out playing football or basketball or, wandering around the neighborhood. So it's kind of a like little each kind of thing. How about you?
Right. Mine is an EE and it extroverted. So I was 75% extroverted, 25% introverted. And I can see that in a sense, because there are times that I do want to just close the door in the office and I just want to kind of just block everything out. A lot of times, like for instance, when I'm doing homework or I'm doing something I have to like put real deep work into, deep thought, I put in earbuds and I put on like some binary beats and just kind of let that flow so I can kind of hone my focus in. But like, for instance, if I'm at work, it's like I would say every hour, because I get strapped to my desk sometimes when it comes to like filling out tasks and doing stuff. But I try to get out of the office and go see people and talk to people and just, just to get away from the loneliness,
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the things when, when I was in Korea, I was there by myself, and my family wasn't there. And I didn't have a ton of people that I could just go hang out with because of my position within the organization. So I was I wouldn't say I wasn't introverted by nature, but on purpose to not put myself in a position of compromise, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, extroverted, I've always been comfortable with just walking up to a random person and starting a conversation. I'm going to pick up on something with them and start a conversation no matter what. And then it'll bloom from there.
And I've gotten better over the years. Of course, the military, right, kind of forces out of you.
Right.
Like, I can't be shy and be the platoon sergeant and stand in front of the soldiers. So, but when people take this, and we definitely are going to give you that website, we'll put it in the notes. Recommend people take this. This is one of the free ones. It's either going to be one or the other, right? Like, I wish there was a combined category, but it is. You're either going to be an introvert or you're going to be more extroverted. And like you said, they're going to give you a percentage. I did not print mine out, so I don't know my percentage off the top. Could be 51 and 49. Who knows? But yeah, so
exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting though. So, did you find anything particularly interesting when you like read what the extrovert like strengths and weaknesses or anything like that were?
So, well, when it comes to my strengths and weakness, I'll get to that. Okay. But what I did want to point out is like, what does this mean to the listener? Really, what does that introvert extrovert mean about the people that are within your organization that you're always around? And from what I got here is it basically refers to people who are outgoing and who thrive in social situations. They're often described as high energy, assertive, talkative, and excitable. So what does that mean if they're more of an introvert? Well, the opposite. Introverted individuals dislike large social groups or situations and may feel drained or exhausted by them. So when you think about it, it's funny that I do like large group settings. I really do enjoy them. Now there are times that I'm just done for the day and I don't want to go and participate in something else. But most of the time, I love it, but then when it comes to like the strengths and weaknesses, there was so much about that. I was going to hit upon those. I think within that whole extrovert thing, one of the things that caught my eye was this charismatic and inspiring, which it's funny because it's kind of where this whole podcast thing, man. I mean, that's what it comes from, these qualities combine to create individuals who are able to inspire and invigorate others, who people actually want to be their leaders. And this in turn helps commanders to accomplish their often ambitious goals that could never be finished alone. It's funny because I could have started this podcast by myself, right? And just did everything on my own. But what did I do? I dragged you in.
Not drag so much.
No, I didn't drag you.
Baited,
not at all.
Maybe but baited, but
yeah, baited you, threw a microphone at you, all kinds of stuff. But that's what I'm saying. But when you see that, it's like, wow, that really kind of plays it to a T. I have big dreams, big ideas, but I may not be able to accomplish it all by myself. I need others to help me.
Okay.
What about yourself? What did you get from it?
So one of them, again, I feel like I'm doing a lot of devil's advocacy today. The honest and direct is one of my big strengths for the introvert. But I'd also argue that there are times when it can be on the weakness side. So, time and place. And of course, that comes like you learn it, self-awareness, self-regulation. You learn that time and place. But let me tell you, like sometimes being super honest, if you're in a meeting with a bunch of seniors who are senior to you and you go, that's stupid and this is why it's stupid, kudos for giving them the reason why. But sometimes the audience doesn't want to hear that the idea is stupid or it's undoable. That's not feasible. So you got to like, okay, how do I put this Then you go, okay, what about if we try it this way rather than that way? Or so those are some things.
Yeah.
Definitely, there are several strengths though that I look at and I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, yep, that's me. And then, but some of them play well to being a soldier, right? Like for us, like so some of my first ones, honest and direct, dutiful, responsible. Like those are key attributes of a non-commissioned officer or of a senior leader in the military. Like enforce order, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, okay. Jack of all trades,
right?
Yeah, ish. I'm not really. Listen, I'm not going to change my oil or nothing, but I'll clean the cap off or something. I'll clean, but yeah. So those are some of the strengths, and what's funny is when I remember when I took this and I told my wife what I was, and she kind of did hers, and she looked at it, she says, "Yeah, this is like they could just change this and just call this James. This is you." Like I'm like, hey, easy now. There's some things I don't think is me, but yeah.
Yeah. So we figured out that whole part of the extrovert introvert. Now the next part is talking about intuitive and observant. Where'd you stand there?
So for that one, I was an S, which is observant. Observant individuals are practical, pragmatic, and down to earth. We'll say, ish. Yeah, we'll say.
I could see that.
Yeah,
I could.
Okay. So that's where I came up with on that one for observant. They tend to have strong habits and focus on what is happening or has already happened for the observant individuals. So, I guess it's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Well, it's that in that particular category, it's actually considered, the whole information gathering type. It's how we gather our information, and then we make the next one. We make, we figure out things off of how we gather information, basically how it comes in. And in that case, I was more intuitive.
Oh.
Mine was intuitive as much more than, and it was 60%. I was 66% more intuitive. 34% of the other side of being observant, and to me, it's when you look at that, how does that affect our ability, each one of our ability in what we do when we receive that information, right? You're more observant, as in, are you more observant by actions that are taking place, things that are going on around you? Do you learn more from watching someone type thing versus coming up, intuitively with a new plan? Or you just like, oh, I like that. I've seen that before. Why am I going to remake the wheel when I can use that?
No, that's a good point. The only thing that I'm thinking about you, right? It's been a few years since we worked together. Mm-hmm. I don't know about preferred novelty over stability for you, because I think you prefer more of a stable, like kind of how you process things. Like, so when I think of novelty, I might be thinking of wrong. I'm thinking of like something way outside the box, like, ooh, let's try that, or how you receive the information. I think you're more rigid than that. Not rigid sounds bad, but I think you're more focused than that. But that's just, again, the day you did this, maybe you were that day, the way you answered the questions, you did prefer novelty over stability on that particular day.
So what I gathered from some research with the whole intuitive part was you tend to read between the lines and focus on the overall impression of a situation rather than what was explicitly said or done. So I think what it means is like I am observing what's going on, but I'm really looking at the overall picture. And sometimes I don't. And my problem, I do have that problem sometimes where I don't dig enough into the weeds. I just want to know, is the answer yes or no? That type of thing. Versus, tell me yes or no. Oh, and give me a reason why. No, it's yes or it's no. Let's move on.
Yeah, I can kind of see. What's his name? First Sergeant Rogers was a little more like, remember that old exercise, the 5 whys? Like he was more of a, oh, that happened. Why did that happen? Oh, it happened because of this. Why did it happen because of that? Like he was like layer. Like we say, peel back the onion. He was very. Yeah. So
Peel back the onion. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, but sometimes it's good to do that or know how to do that, because you do have to get to the bottom of something, right? And I think what was key with him is his details, like his brain, the way he operated. He'd listen to certain words and then, oh wait, you just said blah blah blah. Well, did you mean this or did you mean this? You know, where were you going? You know, and that, I think that's more in your case too. You know, you're observant of those small key words. So if we look at it in a sense, we could see it as it's looking at bigger picture or focusing in on smaller aspects. But in both manners, it's how we receive that information to follow on with, maybe say, we'll talk about the whole judging and prospecting type thing in a minute. However, but we're not going to move to that one. We're going to move to the next one. Next one was thinking and feeling.
So thinking and feeling is under nature, which is how we make decisions and cope with emotions. And this one, Brian, is our first one. I believe we're both on the same end of the spectrum on this one. I think we're both thinking individuals. But again, you know, I'm in a devil's advocate kind of mood. I'm going to go feeling individuals just so we can talk about it. Feeling individuals are sensitive and emotionally expressive. They are more empathetic and less competitive than thinking types and focus on social harmony and cooperation. This is a fact. My wife tells me all the time I lack a lot of empathy, or any at all sometimes. I do find it difficult sometimes to put myself in the shoes of somebody else. So when I make decisions, you know, I have to remember that, because I will make decisions and be like, what? I don't understand why it's a problem for them. But I'm not thinking about like, oh, they have to do this to be here at this time to conduct this training. I don't think like that. I think they should just be here. So it's a weakness. It is a weakness. And that's where, again, when we're doing this personality test, that is a good thing for my leadership to understand. Okay, well, he lacks empathy. He's not very empathetic as a leader. How can we leverage that, or how can we help him in those areas? Or if you're pitching something to your boss and you're like, hey, I want to do boom, 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 and he understands that I'm not the feeling individual type, then he can do, he can, you know, add that empathy into it and be like, well, have you thought about? And I'm like, no, I haven't. So it shows. Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah. And so it's using, if you know one or the other, if you're the senior, the peer, subordinate, whatever, you can, oh, well, I'm on this side of the spectrum. He's on this side, or she's on this side. How can we move that needle to more to the middle so we come together on it? You know, some real good questions to ask, whether, you know, to know if you're on the thinking or you're on the feeling side. For the thinkers, do you love a good pros and cons list? Absolutely, I love those. I tell people all the time, do pros and cons. I told my kid. So here we are. My daughter, she was trying to figure out if she wanted to go, basically starting in February, to be a part of her school choir. And she would go once a week. And I knew she wanted to be with her little friends to do something else instead of going to it. And I said, well, put together some pros and cons, figure it out, you know? And yeah, so she went with, I'll go do choir. It's only once a week, because she loves singing. However, so on top of that, do you look for logical explanation and prioritize fairness over feelings, truth over fact? I mean, when you think about it, you know, are you that type of person? All right. Now let's look at the other side. Let's look at the feelers. Would people describe you as caring and supportive? Do you make decisions with your heart more than your head? Is maintaining emotional harmony within your group more important than being right? You know, sometimes, you know, it's like, and what you just said there, James, when you said, okay, I'm more of on the thinker side, where I'm trying to put logic to everything. It's where we do need that individual sometime that is a feelings type person. And my wife, for instance, I think she's on the opposite side of that from me. She's more of a feelings. I think your wife would be also.
That's
she's
why
probably
she cries
more of a
all the
feelings
time
person,
when she watches
right?
TV.
Oh, stop. She's just emotionally attached, you know, but it's funny that you brought that up, because if I would, let's say I would take this same thing, this personality thing. When I do physical events, like I'm running for a long distance, like this morning I was running and I was thinking about this, like I tend to be a little bit more emotional, and that's because I'm getting the happy drugs of the physical activity, right? And I'm thinking about things. I'm thinking about my children and how I affect them, or how this and that, So it's funny how our chemicals within our body, as they're flowing, can change our perspective on this a little bit, But yeah, it's definitely one of those things. It's good. I think it's good to have a little bit of both on this, because you have to put some really just common sense to stuff sometimes. Is such and such able to do this because of XYZ? Well, yeah, we've got a prioritization, we got a list, but what about the emotional attachment? Are they able to, do whatever? So yeah, I mean, you just gotta kind of look at it like that.
I agree.
All right, so James, let's move on to the next part. We're talking about judging.
Yeah, so judging and prospecting are both parts of tactics. This aspect reflects our approach to work, planning, and decision making. In my mind, these are three very important things for you and I and our profession in the military. But outside of military, this is still super important, because just how you how you approach your work, how you approach planning for things, and decision making. I can tell you, the mine is perfect. My wife is on the other side on this one, I think, but we'll go with it. So again, Brian, we came in on this one together. We are both judging individuals. Yes. So I'll do the judging, and then we'll go over prospecting after. So judging individuals are decisive, thorough, and highly organized. I like to think I am. I'm not as highly organized as I want to be, though. They value clarity, predictability, and closure, preferring structure and planning to spontaneity. Yeah, we can even make this in the gym, Brian. If I go in the gym and I don't have a layout of this is the things I want to accomplish, probably not going to make it through a whole workout, because I don't like going in there not knowing I need to do, I need the squat, then I need the bench, then I need the I am not that guy that can just wake up and be like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym. It's, I'll see what I can dabble with. I can't. I just can't do it. I don't know why. It bugs me. So that's kind of the spontaneity I do not enjoy. I like to plan it out. The Army has taught me very well to backwards plan it out. So I really like to go, okay, let's do a timeline backward. Brian, I got whiteboards for a reason. We're going on vacation. What do I need to do before that and that and that? So yeah, that's definitely, this one is 100% accurate for me, where my wonderful and beautiful wife, she could wake up today and just be like, let's go to Nashville. Bye. And I'm like, okay, but it's going to I'm going to have so much anxiety behind this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would definitely have to agree with you on that. I feel the same way. It's like, I like to be scheduled. And what you said with the gym, like I want to go into it with the idea of I know what I'm going to be doing. And I'm neurotic enough that, like, for instance, I have a 40-week plan of like what exercising I'm doing 5 days a week. Now, when I go into the weekend, I take off on Saturday. I still get up early, but I don't work out on Saturday. Yeah. Instead, I like read or something like that. And then Sunday, I just put together something that's going to get the blood flowing. And then I jump right back hard into it Monday through Friday. But that's, when I say I got a 40-week plan, man, like I know exactly what I'm doing. If you ask me, actually I had to pull it up, but you asked me, hey, in 12 weeks, what exactly you're doing on Monday in 12 weeks? I'd be like, this, and this, like I know exactly how you feel.
Oh no, I would say, bro, I wish you could see. So I have these whiteboards here, but I have another one right at the door to my office. And on it goes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then underneath it says 5x5 strength training, 45-minute high intensity cycle. Every day it's laid out, and I come in here in the morning to get ready for PT so I don't disturb Tammy. And I look at the board and go, okay, today I got to do yoga, meditation, and a cycle. Got it. And then I can go about I cannot, nice. I don't know what it is, man. I'm really weird. I just am like, I hate it. We went to Disney for Christmas. Yeah. we had a planner. We went with another family and they had a planner. And let me tell you how nice it was to be like, okay, at this time, we have to be at this restaurant, like for our meal, and we need to be on the tram by this time to make it. And I loved being able to be like, here's our time to get on this ride or that ride. It made me so happy instead of just being like random all over the place. So, all right, that was my rant.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. And when I did some research and I looked into this a little bit more, it's funny. It says judging, which is the one side that you and I are both on. It talks about, don't worry, this isn't the same thing as being negatively judgmental. Rather, judging personalities tend to be results oriented.
Yeah.
So we want to see those results. We want to see boom, 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 boom. Motivated by lists and good at time management. So I'm good at time management if I manage my time, but like, for instance, in the current position I'm in, it feels like everything else manages my time for me because of sporadic things here and there that I got to fix. Yeah, I have to be reactionary, and I
it makes you crazy, right? Like reactionary is the worst thing ever for our personality types. As far as tactics, it absolutely makes you crazy. You will do it, but you're not going to be happy about it the whole time, and you're going to be like, and then for me, and I know for you too. The whole time you're reacting to something, you're like, okay, what can I do to prevent this from happening again? Like, yeah.
yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah. And I try to put systems and processes in place to affect that, to kind of help that. What's funny though, is the very last sentence was, they thrive in structured, orderly environments. Now let's look at
all right.
the prospecting part, or also seen as perceiving. If agility and adaptability are your nouns of choice, and if you thrive with flexible schedule and keep plans and timelines loose, you're a perceiving personality. So somebody who's just like, I'll go with the flow, and I've got friends like that. I know I have friends like that are just,
it'll buff out.
Yeah, man, we'll get to it. It'll be all right. Or what's
nobody's shooting at you.
Josh Wright used to say all the time back in the day. He used to say, it'll buff out.
Yeah, I mean, that phrase has lived with me for a long time. It'll buff out. So he would definitely be a prospect.
Yeah. Oh yeah, perceiving. Yes.
Tactics or perceiving. Yeah, that would be his tactics for this personality assessment, because he's very much a kind of like go with the flow, kind of chill. It's okay. I mean, what about the bearded ninja? Because the bearded ninja very famously tells us nobody's shooting at you. Calm down.
Yeah.
So,
but he likes structured schedules too, though.
Yeah. So he's kind of this is another one where maybe there should be a blended.
Yeah. I don't know exactly where he would be in that, but that's interesting. I am interested, and I hope he comments to us or sends us a message. You can talk to him now because you work there.
I can. I see him every day, multiple times.
I would like to know his little 5-letter code that he got from this, because he's an interesting fellow. An interesting fellow.
I'll ask him tomorrow.
So, we're moving on to the last one. We're moving on to
let me get my notes.
Assertive and turbulent. On this particular one, we didn't see eye to eye on this one. I'm more assertive. You were more on the turbulent. Yep. I was 76% assertive, and only 24% turbulent.
Yeah, this one is so it says the identity aspect underpins all others, showing how confident we are in our abilities and decisions. So I have turbulent, which I am a self-conscious and sensitive to stress. They are likely to experience a wide range of emotions and to be success-driven, perfectionistic, and eager to improve. So this is one of all of them, Brian. This is the one. I don't know what I did on the test, but yeah, I don't really get stressed enough. I feel like I am self-conscious, but I don't think I'm sensitive to stress. So other than that,
it's funny you brought that up. So in this book, that book I was talking about, that was actually a spot I actually circled about you on here. And I was like, yeah, this is totally James. It reads, the ISTJ is often very calm and cool, even somewhat unexpressive or undemonstrative. I've never even heard that. This can be a strength in some situations, particularly stressful ones, when the ISTJs appear rock solid. This makes them more effective in many of life's emergencies, from operating rooms to battlefields. Huh. What's funny about that is I remember a specific situation that took place during our practice land nav situation. You did scream out my name. However, once I got over there, you were just like, yeah, pretty sure I broke everything. I can't walk on it. I need you to get me up and get me out of the woods, buddy. And I was just like,
yeah.
I'm like,
the old ankle going this,
and then I had to, like, I don't care what anybody says. I was not fireman's carrying your big butt out of the woods. There was no way, because you were on a hill, and a lot of people still don't know about this. Yeah. You're on a hill. So all I could do is like get you up on one foot and then like take your arms over me and just hunch over and like walk slowly. And here I am. I'm like 225. You're like 280. And I was close. Yeah, oh, you were big, buddy. I mean, I'm not saying you're fat. You were just you were thicker then because of the muscle you had on you. So,
yeah, it was. I stay away from that place still.
So. You don't go down that hill. You just don't want to visit it. Haley Hill, they called it.
Yep. They still know about it.
Yeah, hey, it was a thing. But it's funny though that that you would come out on that side of things, being of the turbulent versus the assertive, because of your reactions and what the book says about it. It is that's amazing.
So what about you, my assertive friend?
So when I look at some of this stuff, it talks about robust, direct, and hardy strategist. Quickly and keenly can see possibilities in almost everything and can act upon those possibilities instantly. They share their directions and opinions quite freely and easily, assuming that anyone who disagrees does not fully ready to engage in meaningful, albeit somewhat confronting and direct dialogue. I mean, I would, I don't know. I like to be assertive in the sense of this. I'm just direct, right? I don't want anybody to think ever that that I'm phony. I guess that's in my mind. I'm not saying that being turbulent is being phony. Like, I'm just saying that, the assertive part is just, I want people to know this is me. And you're getting full me. I'm not going to hold it back. I want you to know, because that way they know where I stand, and you see a lot of different people that are like that too. Then you're like, you probably shouldn't be that way. You know what I mean? Like it's weird.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I sugarcoat stuff, but I know what to use tack on. I'm use tact when faced with a situation, but looking at it, I mean, just pride themselves on their independence. That's also something I see about it. But with it, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the 76% put me in assertive. It is probably right, because even as a parent, and it does talk about it in the whole thing about like how to be a parent. Yeah. And I'm looking at like, oh my goodness, this is all me. I can't believe it, But when we look at all this stuff, James, like we put all this together, we develop our idea of who we are. Like we know when you're going through the process, you know who you are. What's the cool part is it's not just knowing who you are, but then also how does that work in situations, right? How does that work? Let's just say, for instance, your code that you came up with, the position you just came into that you're in at work, how does that effectively work in your organization?
Well, like I said earlier, first of all, the introvert part definitely is not going to work out at the organization itself, but some of the other stuff, So for instance, the intuitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be open-minded, and I like to challenge those that work for me or work with me.
Yes.
I like to challenge them and get their ideas. Well, I'm not getting their ideas just so I can insert my idea. I'm getting their ideas because I'm open-minded to what they are trying to do. So yeah, I think there's some aspects such as that that really benefit what I'm trying to do. Um, and what I'm trying to get them to do. Because again, these are, these guys are and girls are staff sergeants, sergeant first classes, and I'm trying to help them develop into master sergeants so I can go and they can take over, and you know what I mean. So how do I challenge them in certain ways, and understanding my personality is an effective way of leveraging what they know and trying to develop them for future leadership roles. So that's one of the big things for me that I think is important by knowing my logistician.
All right. Yeah, exactly. Right. So looking at that and looking how that affects your position, it's the same way. Like, currently in the position I'm in, some of my traits that I received through this person, they don't work well with it. Right. The constant, like, the fires that I might have to put out or something. Like, I like structure. I like organization. I like to be regimented. That's the whole. I like getting up early in the morning every single day of the week to do certain things. I like those things. I like to be able to go and talk to people. I don't like to be chained to something such as a desk, right?
No.
But I do like structure, to kind of organize the day. I love the calendar. To me, the calendar works. And then when I think about this, I think about, okay, if I had particular individuals within the organization take the same thing, how would they score? What would they get? And if they do, how's that going to help me effectively utilize their personality traits to help the organization, help them, and just kind of overall grow the team in a sense too? I mean, because you don't want a team full of everyone's the same thinking. I don't want somebody that everyone thinks the same way. I want different thinkers. I want different types of personalities, different types of perspectives, right? And that's a whole part about leadership, right, James? That when it becomes, we talk about instinctive influencers and being leaders. It's having those other perspectives out there for you, for me, for whoever, to be able to look at them and say, okay, I see. Or maybe another way of doing something. You're like, oh, I never think about that. That's a good idea. Or I could tweak this a little bit and do that. But it's the idea behind it of just doing the effort, taking the effort to do this little personality thing, and then just to try to understand it. It is kind of it's kind of unique. I'm kind of curious, James, is like how some of our listeners would turn out in this. Like what would maybe be their code that they would receive and how it would describe them, and then even because a lot of our listeners, there's quite a few of our listeners that we know personally. How they interact with us. So for instance, if I would explain, so when Michelle, she took it, she asked me mine, then she looked it up about like, how do these two types of personalities interact? And no joke, my friend, she literally said that it takes a lot of work for our two personality types to bond. But once we do, it's like an inseparable bond, if that makes sense. So it's weird.
You're married, so it makes sense. Marriage is a lot of work from both sides, but then the bond it forms from the marriage, right?
Yeah.
Like so. Yeah. No, I can see that. That makes complete sense. Going back to like some of the understanding of this, right? Like the very first thing, the introvert versus extrovert. Do I want to put the introverted person as the lead of my team to like develop a class or some curriculum? Maybe not, because they don't thrive in that environment, right?
Are you talking about a group setting to build
like
something?
A group setting,
okay.
Yeah. Like if I'm building something from scratch, do I want to, hey, you're in charge of this team of 10 people, ready to go? They don't thrive like that. So I don't think that would be the smart move. So you got to look at those type of things. there's just so many ways to leverage this. But I'm with you. I think there's 16 different categories that the listeners could fall into, and be interesting to see how some of them shake out.
Yeah. And, and what I'm going to do, James, is I'm going to add the link to that website that we both used, and we've used it at the organization right now. I'm going to add that link in either in the show notes, or I'll add it in like comments on our Facebook page and all Instagram, all that stuff. However, it's your time to be up, my friend.
Oh, boy.
Are you ready? If for some reason we've got people that are out there, they're just chomping at the bit to tell us about their results, or do they just want to reach out to us, what is it that they need to do? Where do they go?
Well, Brian, I'm glad you asked. They can find us on social media at 101 Influence on Facebook, Instagram. They can find us on the Twitter machine. All of these are very good systems. Go to the Instinctive Influencers Facebook page, answer the questions, join the group, see the faces, and help us grow.
Help us grow, yeah. And I mean, and they can see us on YouTube now, because we've been doing the videos since about 70, I think episode 74 or so, 74, 76. We started doing that. Hey, when you go to those, give us a thumbs up, leave some comments. Hey, let us know. Hey, this is your assignment. Take the personality test and let us know what it is that you got. Or you don't have to share it, but I mean, it's just nice to know the type of people that are a part of this larger thing that's bigger than he and I. Anything else on this topic, my man?
No, I think we've covered quite a bit here today, Brian. Let me just check something here. I think we covered quite a bit today on the first show back in a long time for me. Anyway, it's been a while. It's been a while.
It's funny because really, when you look at the episodes and how it's, because I kind of slow rolled some for a little bit because I knew it. I mean, it was only a couple episodes ago that you were on, but you were still in Germany.
Yeah.
At the time.
Well, I mean, we're recording in January, and I have been here since September, the last day of September, October.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That'll tell people a lot of things about how many episodes we had stored up. Now we're basically working week to week now, my friend.
Yeah.
That's
We'll figure it out. Might have to record some from the old stomping grounds again.
Oh no. All right. Hey, well, James, I'm telling you what, I have enjoyed this conversation. I think listeners are going to love it. With that, I am Brian.
And I am James.
And this has been the Instinctive Influencers podcast. We thank you so very much for listening. Have a great day. Let us know, what was your personality type?